He will be joined by a distinguished panel, Mr. Arjun Gupta, CEO Smart Jewels, Ms. Nisha Menon, CEO DSL, Mr. R.K. Singh, Chief General Manager, Green Climate Finance Vertical, SIDBI, and Mr. Ramanan CV, General Manager and Business Head, Energy Management Solutions, Thermax Limited. Please welcome our panelists.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you to all the panelists. We were also expecting one speaker from Thailand, but unfortunately, he could not get the visa on time. So anyways, we'll get started. Before we get into the subject, since morning, we have been hearing this word ESCO, I would say at least 10 times. And I would like to start with a personal journey. When I started my consulting career way back in 2007, I was working on a project in North American market. There was a proposal from the investor-owned utility. In India, you can relate it to, let's say, power distribution company or DISCOM. And they had submitted a proposal saying we want to build a $1 billion transmission line connecting one state in the US to the another state, given that in future the demand is expected to increase. And we were appointed by the Regulatory Commission to find out, number one, is that transmission line really required? And number two, can there be demand-side interventions? Can there be energy efficiency programs which will avoid the need to set up that transmission line, which is going to add $1 billion cost ultimately on the consumers? So we're still waiting for a day that in India, similar situation comes anytime in future, where regulatory commissions start asking whether all demand-side opportunities have been evaluated, explored before making any capex on the supply side. So in 2007, when I worked on this project, I got curious about what's happening in India. And that's when I started reading about, the schemes in India, what government is doing. And I came across National Mission on Enhanced Energy Efficiency. At that time, maybe some of you in the audience will remember, there was a figure floating around that India has an energy efficiency investment potential of 75,000 crores. Fast forward 16 years in 2024, if we look at what is the energy efficiency investment potential, there are some numbers from Government of India as part of their Unnati report. Government of India Bureau of Energy Efficiency has estimated that the country has energy efficiency investment potential of 8 lakh crore minimum, and it can go up to 12 lakh crore. So investment opportunity wise, there is plenty. Now with doubling of energy efficiency in place, we would expect the investment numbers and the potential to further increase. Number one point. Second point, if we look at the progress the country has made last 10-15 years, we heard Mr. Brian Motherway in the morning that India is among one of those countries that's doing better than the global average. So energy efficiency progress is also happening, but we also have to see that most of the low-hanging fruits perhaps have been exhausted. The potential in lighting, in other options have been exhausted. We are also entering into an era where we need some real investment going into energy efficiency. That's the second point. The third point, if we look at who can bring those investments, what are the options available? Now, one of the options being talked about, and which I am hearing since 2007-8, that ESCOs will come in, they will bring the investment, and that's going to solve the issue of investment. What is the reality today? We have, as part of Bureau of Energy Efficiency's records, around 130 ESCOs in India. If we ask how many of those ESCOs are indeed ESCOs who are putting investment and recovering investment through the savings, perhaps Arjun will have a better figure. Our own analysis is not even 20% of those organizations, or maybe less. So that's the reality. Opportunity is there. We are talking about a market. How do we really mainstream ESCOs? How do we escalate? That's what is the topic of today. And the way I'm planning to spend next 50 minutes with our speakers, we'll break it into 3 sections. The first section, I'm calling it as stock take. Let's understand what is the situation in India, how that situation compares with other matured markets when it comes to ESCOs. The second section, let us try and declutter some of the misconceptions, some of the issues that the industry is facing. And in the third section, let's try and talk about what's the solution, how do we escalate. So with that background, maybe just for the audience also to know which organizations are present today, can we just quickly go around the table and maybe you introduce about yourself, and particularly with respect to ESCOs, what your organization is doing right now. Very brief introduction. Arjun, let's start with you.
Thank you. I'm Arjun. I'm the founder and CEO of Smart Joules. Smart Joules started as an ESCO company. Now I don't like to use that word, and we can get into why. But you know, we do cooling and automation. We save energy. That's what we exist for. Efficiency first is our tagline. So still all efficiency, but instead of calling ourselves ESCO, you know, that's changed. But cooling and automation is how we save energy, and we do performance contracts, long term, we finance, we invest in projects. So we do everything that an ESCO does. We don't like to call ourselves an ESCO anymore.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nisha. I'm the CEO of DESL. DESL was founded in 1999 with the intent to provide energy services in ESCO model. The market was pretty nascent at that point of time. So over a period of time, we have evolved from an ownership under an Indian company. We are now part of a French group called Veolia. Veolia is probably one of the market leaders when it comes to doing concession type of contracts, long-term agreements in industry, municipal, etc. sector under the different P-type model, P-type contracts. Yeah, we've been working in the Indian market since about 1999 with a fairly deep understanding of the issues and the challenges that come with structuring and stitching together an ESCO project and realizing revenues from an ESCO project. Thank you.
So I'm R.K. Singh. I head the Green Climate Finance vertical in SIDBI. SIDBI as a DFI, I call it Development First Institution. We are working on agendas which concern enterprise, entrepreneurship promotion ahead of the thought process which is going on. So on the green side and on the ESCO side, we have been working on energy efficiency side since 2005-06. But we did our bit role in making market work for ESCO, and how did we do we'll maybe cover later on. But the idea is we are trying to empower the MSME segment both on the manufacturing and services side with one mantra that financing the green will not happen unless you green the financing.
I'm C.V. Ramanan and I represent Thermax Limited. Thermax has been in the field of energy and environment for over the last 6 decades. And I can justifiably be proud in stating that we started and dropped ESCO companies some 25 years ago. We thought that time also the time had come for industry to adopt some solutions which are beneficial in the long run, but may not make financial sense in the short run. And once again, after seeing our experience in shared services, renewable energy and things like that, we have entered into energy management services where we offer ESCO solutions. Presumably the world as well as the energy field has undergone significant changes over the last 2.5 decades. So we have a bouquet of solutions which I would say 90% of the customers are investing capex and taking it in terms of realizing the entire savings. We also have a model wherein we interfere and then we can share the savings on a predetermined basis. All challenges which has been discussed right from the morning with respect to the scaling up and hence attracting the favorable attention of institutional finance exist in ESCO. It still has a steep mountain to climb in terms of scaling up. It's very slowly catching up, but as the old saying goes, it's an idea whose time has come, so we will see an accelerated growth in such initiatives in future is what our prediction is.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Nisha, I'll come to you first. And given that you have explored both international market as well as Indian market, what basic difference that you see the way other countries have approached ESCOs versus what's happening in India? And what do you see as real drivers for ESCOs in India?
Okay. So just to give a context, in India, what we have been seeing since 2002 is ESCO projects that are primarily driven by energy conservation measures or energy efficiency measures. In contrast to that, when we work in other countries, the approach is slightly different. I mean, we have an inherent advantage that we are part of Veolia. Veolia has this classical structure, P1, energy supply and maintenance, P2, O&M, and P3, full service, etc. So we have this inherent advantage of targeting projects and facilities that provide an opportunity to develop these types of contracts, which inherently have 2 to 3 different advantages as compared to what we see in India. A, they are much longer term. B, there's always opportunity to increase the scope of your contract. As you see other opportunities, you're always able to upsell different services to the same client. And secondly, it is not structured in the classical shared savings or guaranteed savings contract. If it is an energy supply contract, we are say selling steam. Our deliverable is selling steam at this price and guaranteeing steam at this bar at as long as the production needs the steam. And that brings us to the next nature of the difference in the contracts that we work in, which is these are really not core to the main operation, main production operation. So it is the utilities, it is areas which are really non-core, and we don't really, the service level agreements are de-linked to the production process. So that is a big difference in the structure of the contract. Thirdly, I think because of the nature of this type of agreements that we work on, there is the advantage that we pursue contracts that are A, longer term, B, allow for innovation. So it is not just energy. We are able to work on water. Definitely water is a big focus for the last 5 to 10 years. And now increasingly waste and the focus on circular economy is are areas that our clients like for us to focus on. And the proportion of risk sharing that we are able to get in these types of contracts that are structured as P1, P2, P3, it's probably a bit more fairer than we are seeing in India, and that gives us the bandwidth to develop larger investment projects than say 1 crore, 10 projects of 1 crore. So that would be the biggest difference, and that difference should probably move us in the direction of finding what should probably drive investments by ESCOs in India.
Thank you, Nisha. Same question to you, Arjun, with slightly different phrasing. You have seen last 8 to 10 years how the market has evolved in India. You're yourself, running a company. So do you really see with the focus on decarbonization, ESG, government schemes, really is the demand for ESCOs, have they increased last 8 to 10 years? Is what I would like to understand. And what has worked for you so far in scaling, your business, your footprint from the very first project to, I'm guessing today, more than 100 projects you can share?
Sure, thank you. So first question is, has the decarbonization focus added to the demand for ESCO services? I think largely no. I think most of the focus of decarbonization has gone to renewable energy, which is easy and quick and cheap to adopt and widely available with multiple companies offering solutions which are simple, right? So I don't think it has really increased demand, but what it has done is at least made people aware. I think it will increase demand at some point when people run out of renewables and they're like, what next? I think that then at least that has started where people are more curious about what all offerings are out there and what are ways to decarbonize. That has not resulted in real demand signing contracts because they want to decarbonize, okay? But if somebody has a decarbonization solution, it is looked upon as more positive. So it hasn't created business, but it has created future demand. So let's put it that way. Second question is, what has worked for us? How have we been able to do whatever we have been able to do? I think a couple of key learnings that I've had. One is focus narrowly. I think before I started the business, I looked around at other ESCOs that are there in the market. I found that a lot of people are offering anything and everything. They say, we are an ESCO, we are energy experts, we'll do anything and everything. Now, what I found is if that's the approach, then you're not the best in doing anything. And then when your customer is actually deeply evaluating what you have to offer, they will have all sorts of questions. They'll say, why not this one, why not that one, why you, and then you'll struggle. Right? So I think focus has been one. We focused on only one solution and only one market segment, which helped us grow quite a lot. And at least to give us an initial boost to go from a concept to a business. So that is one learning, which is focus. Second, I would say another thing which ESCO is all about return on investment. How quickly can you return your investment? What risks can you take, etc. So one thing I notice is a lot of people are trying to sell equipment and saying, I will generate savings from selling this equipment or replacing this equipment. Now, there two things happen. One is you have to invest a lot, so it's capex intensive. Second is you don't really have a differentiated value addition to the customer. It's only replacing equipment that the customer can themselves buy. So what has worked for us is combining equipment replacement with great design, system design, and great automation, which improves operational efficiency. So when you do that, then you have a differentiated offering for the customer that they can't just go to an OEM and buy, right? So that customer really wants to work with you. And second is that your projects become much more profitable and cost effective. So as you're in the business of returning investment, so that works out really well. And I would say the third lesson is know where not to waste time. So I think a lot of ESCOs, what I heard before I started also was that it takes 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, you do an audit and then you give a report and then you give a list and then the customer says, I don't want to do business. So very early on in our journey, I think within the first year, we realized that that's not the right way to do this business. So we actually don't do any assessment or any audit of a customer site before we sign a contract. It's only 1 or 2 conversations and a site visit and that's it. We will not produce an energy audit report. We will not tell the customer, these are the 20 things we'll do to save energy. Because once you told that, your chances of converting that customer into an ESCO project are anyways less. So the third learning is just go in and pitch the model. If the customer likes the model and the fundamentals of the structure of your offering, they will sign up the contract. And then you should start your technical work, right? So you don't waste time. So I think these are few things that have worked out.
I'll come back to you to probe more on this generalist ESCO versus specialist ESCO. and it has worked for you. But I'll come to you, Mr. Namanan. The same question related to how you have seen ESCO market growing in India. And as somebody who is known as a technology leader, the waste heat recovery space, the cooling space, what has been your strategy to identify more and more opportunities on ESCO-related projects?
One of the main challenges of ESCO is that how do you baseline your consumption today? Is the nameplate rating the actual one, or is the industry or is the factory operating at a different level? So you got to basically make a customer understand and accept that this is what I am currently consuming for you to even suggest something better than that. So that's the biggest mental frame, is that everybody feels that they operate it in the most efficient way. Every company has got a maintenance department and they have their KPAs, appraisals and things like that. They can't afford to publicly state that I am operating a plant at an inefficient level. So, or below par efficient for various reasons, not for operational reasons. So what we have created is a digital backbone which can be quickly rolled out. Maybe a month or so you operate it across all parameters 24/7 and try to form a pattern of consumption and sort of extrapolate a baseline figure. Once this baseline is agreed upon, then you sort of place your solution over it. A saving with respect to your actual consumption as measured in your factory. Now when I opened up the remarks, the one difference between 24 years ago and now is the significant improvement in the digital space which has happened, which is enabling now to monitor it 24/7 and apply normal AI/ML tools to understand at what condition and pattern your equipment is running. In fact, we even have a specialized suite of digital solutions which will draw, which an operator, a trained eye can draw a conclusion as to what's going to go wrong. It works at multiple levels, predictive maintenance, so on and so forth. For the purpose of ESCO, what we first do is to deploy a digital solution to measure what it is. Okay, now this is the longest portion of an ESCO sales. You got to make somebody, you got to bring it to a level, an acceptable field that yes, this is how it's operating. Then you put up, this itself settles down quite a bit of things actually. And you juxtapose your improvement on that and then follow it up again by a digital measurement and verification tool. Okay, so there's nothing left to imagination. It's measured. So as the old adage goes, what cannot be measured cannot be controlled. Since it's measured, you have accepted, I have accepted, so there's likely to be less problem in accepting of sharing of savings, which was not the case a couple of decades ago. You had to rely upon the nameplate rating with no actual bearing on the actual operating condition of that particular plant. It might be operating at a part load or whatever it is for various reasons. Today, if I am going to monitor a chiller, I will be able to monitor its chilled water temperature, in, out, cooling water, voltage, and create a quick predictive chart as to what state that chiller is operating at. This is possible. And there are, we ourselves have a suite which we are going to do it. And similarly, we no longer do an energy audit which is physical. We do a digital one, right? So we sort of do a digital one and you are expected to fill up everything and then probably we analyze. I keep telling this example like that. If any one of you have gone to indianastrology.com, put in your name and Kundli and place of birth, you will get a sort of a report immediately. You got to do it, Sade Sati means you got to pay for it, right? So it is possible. You create a 70-75% model of it and then you base your solution of it. This is actually working better than starting from a nameplate assumed details, right? Now coming to the second question, how do we do about the waste heat recovery and things like that? Part of the answer lies in what I told also. Part of the answer is that we have literally exhausted almost all low-hanging fruits with respect to energy efficiency. You got to dig very deep the water is very way down the well, you got to go down on that. How do you go down? We have deployed these database solutions to see, yes, there is a potential. There is, after all, water at the end of the well, and you can draw out of it. And as I had mentioned, we have rolled out, past couple of years or so, our regular digital services for our own equipments, which we are now monitoring 24/7 instead of earlier, log sheets used to be there. Once in a shift, log sheets used to be there, and physically anybody is interested can make a message out of it or no. So this is giving us a lot of data. So it's now data based. A product's design in terms of energy efficiency can only take it that far. You have to standardize product at some level. It can't be customized for everybody. We can't have a Rolls-Royce in compressors, we can't have a Rolls-Royce in boilers. It's going to be a standardized product. But operating conditions of each plant is likely to be different, 100%. On various parameters, it's likely to be 100% different. Plus, we have been used to nowadays enjoy the choice of fuel. We would like to fire anything and everything in boiler, multi-fuel boiler, right? And our choice of power is also extended to renewable, to somewhere here, somewhere there, and things like that. How does your equipment and process factor in all these changes and flexibility, and yet give the most optimum efficiency, lowest specific energy consumption, using the same standard product which was designed? Okay, for this we rely on actual data, pattern, and thus arrive at a solution.
Great, thank you. So basically, again, I'm going back 15 years, we were thinking energy efficiency, like especially in industry, the brick and mortar kind of intervention. You need to see something more visible, but combining that with digital, it's something, it has helped in the overall journey. So Dr. Singh, I'll come to you next. And there is a reason purposefully, in our approach also, sometimes we think about where are the areas of improvement, what are the technological solutions, and then finance will come into picture. So it makes sense after hearing all other speakers to hear from you. Number one indicator of a sector growing is how much finance is flowing into this sector. How many banks are operating? Are they giving loans into? So that becomes one parameter of judging whether a sector has grown over the years or not. So if you can share on that point, how do you see ESCO financing over the last 10, 15 years, how it has increased or not? Number of players, whether they have increased or not. And then if you can also talk about what are some of the products, financing products that SIDBI has in place or you are planning to come out with in near future, particularly for ESCOs.
So I would start with changing the topic itself, ESCO-late to ESCO-live. Because how did we enliven the whole ESCO journey was what we tried to work on. So when we started almost 8 to 10 years back, ESCOs were like they had, their financials were not so that any bank would lend. The bank would not understand the model itself, and so the bankability was not getting established. And that way, SIDBI, along with support of World Bank, we set up a risk-sharing facility. And risk-sharing facility is a bit different from normal credit guarantee because SIDBI also runs the CGTMSE and NCGTC. But here the difference is that any proposal which comes, it is first technically validated by a team of experts that, okay, this model will work or not work, what would be the checkpoints, what would be the do's and don'ts, go, no go sort of listing and all. And so based that, we put a team of experts. Every case which comes needs to be validated by that team. Then we give a go-ahead to the lender, and then they do the financial appraisal and they fund that. Now, risk-sharing facility stands as that I am here, you lend, right? So that feeling is given by this risk-sharing facility. Plus, it sort of removes the technical barrier in the mindset of the banker that this may be quite innovative, I'm not able to understand. So that patting or backup is provided by us. SIDBI started on its own. Generally, the anchor of the facility doesn't do lending on its own, but it was to establish that we had to establish that this is doable. So we created our own lending and we started lending. Today we have 14 lenders onboarded on this who are availing risk sharing facility. This is a $37 million facility. We have kindled investment of 130 million US dollars. And this is now a product which is being replicated globally by World Bank and picked up by OECD as top 12 global models which can be replicated across. Because that is how, if you have to really power or to give support to emerging, untested, unserved area, you need to have a risk sharing facility which balances the technical aspect with the financing, and then it gets going. So this is, and now what it has helped us is that we have moved this risk sharing facility into other areas. Like today we have risk sharing facility for electrical vehicles ecosystem. We have for municipal solid waste. We are in process of setting up for even micro and nano brainers also, because we are thinking that last mile should also get green. Now coming to the product side, to do that, even ESCO funding also internally, or even doing green financing, the major hurdle was which we tackled was the first few months we only devoted on building the capacity of the lending value chain, making them aware that green is nothing like rocket science. It is basically a conscious call to environment and social aspects. And if you can arrive at bankability, it is doable, and it is doable in a good way. It is an opportunity. So today, SIDBI has picked up 5 missions in our green agenda, and these are mission EV, which is, we are saying that can we have a situation where each MSME has got a EV or uses EV. Then mission energy efficiency, this is for energizing, say, efficiency, being energized through energy efficiency. So a lot of clusters are there grappling with energy inefficient products and processes. We are trying to solve it. SIDBI has been working on it most, I would say, since 2005, 6 and all. We have only one product for energy efficiency and 2 products for entire green financing. The idea was to not make it many products which people should choose. They should come with the idea and we should make them choose. So the first product is 4E, which is end-to-end energy efficiency financing. And here it is embedded with energy audit. And I have been mentioning also in different forums, this audit word itself, we removed it, and we now call it energy health checkup. And this appeals better to MSME. And so this health checkup is done. We tell them how to read this health checkup report. And based on that, we help them to go for investment. So that way, they feel better, they realize better that they can do it. Coming the second scheme which we have is green financing scheme. So anyone coming for EV or EE or for circular economy or adaptation, they have to just come with the proposal. It will be fitted into a green financing scheme. If it doesn't fit, then it may not be fitting the bill in bankability. So these are only 2 products we have, and it is going good. Now defining green for the internal value chain as also for MSME, we made it very simple. We adopted a green taxonomy, we call it ectonomy. And then we have a 890 technology basket, which is clean energy. No, it is there. So that 890 technology basket is, I'm exceeding the time limit or what? So, okay, yeah. So this 890 technology list makes it very simple. We have digitized the whole process. The lender, appraising officer need not know whether this is clean, green, energy efficient. It picks up and tells the officer. So we have digitized the process also. And the third is every case which we do has to be measurable on energy saving, as also the GHG emission reduction it gives. So earlier we were doing energy saving was a criteria. There was no benchmarking. Now what we have done is we have over the years we realized that we should benchmark it now. So any project which results into say 20% energy savings, we are categorizing it into energy efficient project. We are testing this model, and I think this is working well. And along with all this like financing products, minimal building capacity of the value chain, we realize that there should be parallel development initiatives which should also go on. So SIDBI also launched Decarbonisation Challenge Fund, where we invited ideas from different corners and try to work on it to shape a decarbonization project itself, a programming funding project. And then we have few tools also, as my fellow colleague mentioned about the energy audits thing. So we have pooled the energy audits which has happened. Over few thousand energy audits are there in our pool, and we have created a tool which helps helps us to understand the sectoral aspects also when we do energy health checkup. And coming to like recently we have got this Green Climate Fund to support us for $200 million facility. We are setting up a $1 billion facility, will mobilize 800 million more. And the idea is to cover all these 5 missions to decarbonize and to support institutions, particularly the small finance banks, the micro, means NBFC, MFIs and NBFCs. The idea is to reach the last mile through the connect points which cater to the last mile. So we'll be building their capacity, we'll create awareness both on the demand and supply side, and then try to attend this aspect in a programmatic way. SIDBI is also accredited entity for Green Climate Fund. We have anchored one fund for startup side, which is Avana. We have got them 24.5 million. They are leveraging it to 130 million. And one we have got which we are anchoring ourselves. Few more proposals are in pipeline. Whenever any one of you have innovative ideas and would like to hop on the GCF program, do touch base with us. We can help out or we can work together on this. We have also launched a specs tool, a quick one I would then conclude. This is Sustainability Perception Index, which we conduct in clusters and gauge the aspirations of MSMEs, that what are they thinking about green investments, and can we support it, and can we customize products around that, or can we tweak our schemes to that. Government of India has launched GIFT and SPICE scheme. GIFT is for green investment for transformation, where there is 2% interest subvention available for loans up to 2 crores. And SPICE is for circular economy, where 12.5% subsidy is available for for loans up to 50 lakhs, which we are enhancing now. The idea is, and that is powered by SIDBI, but it is available through more than 20 lenders. So do avail these sort of scheme. There is a, if you keen on the Google Green portal, it will pick you and lead you to that site. So a lot many things are being done, because we know that the balancing of supply and demand, financial and non-financial services, is very important to make this sector upcoming, and particularly MSME investing on the green side.
Thank you. I'm sure the ESCOs in the room would have taken a note of various financing, programs that you have in place. Before we move on to the next section, can we do a very quick rapid fire, and we'll start from you, Mr. Ramanan. what's the biggest misconception that people have in India on ESCOs? And if you can limit your response to 20, 30 seconds. Yeah.
Well, should I share the entire savings with the ESCO company? Is the biggest misconception that Indian companies have. Right? I'm true. Okay. Now, many times you go, you tell something, and it has improved over the last so many years. The adherence to contract. ESCO contracts by nature are pretty complex, right? Now, I did mention in my last this thing. First, I should be honest in accepting this is the way that my plant is running. Today, we have digital tools to ensure that it is so. Earlier, it used to be perception based. So that's the major this thing about it.
Dr. Singh, quick response on misconception.
So, as a banker from bankability side, we know that they don't create any assets. How do I finance? So that itself we have to, right, we have been working on this for long. And I think now it is working. You can advocate more.
Just one misconception.
Yeah.
Okay, I might draw a lot of flack here. We're
Biggest,
talking
yeah.
energy efficiency. Solar PV is not energy efficiency. That is probably one of the biggest misconception.
Yeah, that's Arjun.
I think among customers, misconception is that ESCOs are lenders. They look at ESCO companies as simply lending companies. So that's a big misconception.
Yeah. So if you can hold on to the mic for the next question, and in the interest of time, I'll combine both the declutter section and the solutioning section in one. And Arjun, many people in India who are now looking to start up, ESCO or get into this energy as a service field, they might be looking at you as mentor, somebody who has done it for some time. What's your advice, recommendation to some of those people how to build a ESCO business in year 2025 with all the headwinds and tailwinds in place? And the second question, how do you recommend them to plan for any uncertainty if there are uncertainties in the business?
Okay. All right. So, we've been around for 10 years. First 8 years, we had only a retrofit and ESCO offering, and we have doubled in the last 2 years. And the reason is, we are, I think it's a very common thing in sales that if you want to sell something, sell a painkiller and not a vitamin. People don't want vitamins. Energy efficiency or energy cost reduction is a vitamin. Now, what we started doing 2 years ago is selling a painkiller, which is something that people need. So the painkiller is cooling. Cooling is something people need. He talked about selling steam. That is something people need. You can't run a factory without steam. Now, you want to further the agenda of energy efficiency. You want to do performance contracting. You want to do financing. You want to do, engineering, which is what all an ESCO does. But I think for me, it has been a mental shift of selling savings itself versus selling something that any building or factory or end user needs, right? So, nobody will say, I don't need cooling. Everybody needs it. But, not everybody needs efficiency, right? So, I think my advice would be to try to sell something that everybody wants, for which there is already demand. Trying to create new demand, new category is just, it takes too long and it's too slow, and, you can succeed in one odd case, but if I look back at my 10 years, I mean, I wish I would have started selling cooling in year 1. We would have been 10 times bigger company till today. So I think that would be my top one advice, right? People don't want to buy savings. They want to buy some essential thing that they need. All right? And your second question was, sorry?
Planning for uncertainty. Yeah.
Planning for uncertainty. I think the biggest planning for uncertainty can be of any kind. So the biggest planning for uncertainty that is required is to build resilience in yourself and in your organization. So ESCO, again, performance contracting in general, let me not use the word ESCO, it has all kinds of risks, all kinds of surprises, because what you're essentially doing is de-risking something for your client. So if you are de-risking something for the client, that means you are internalizing that risk. Technology risk is something you're taking, financing risk is something you're taking, team risk, people, key man risk is something that you're taking because you may not find that, people can change companies. So I think certainly anybody in this business has to be extremely resilient to all kinds of surprises. So, in our 10 years, what all has happened, customers have reneged on contracts, our Series A investment, 1 week before signing, it did not happen. So the investor pulled out. Key people in the team on which we were relying on left. Customers dragged us on for years and didn't sign the contract at the end. Things keep happening. So I don't know, uncertainty is something that you need to be comfortable with. You need to accept it. It's not something that's not going to happen, right? You can't do away with it. So you have to accept it and start with yourself to build resilience mentally that, shit's going to happen. You got to stick on. So, yeah.
No, thank you. I think very enlightening for people here. Nisha, what are some of the most common misconceptions or challenges that organizations face while exploring any partnership on ESCO based on your experience? What are some of those common, challenges that you have seen? And if you can also share what's the secret of structuring a good ESCO project?
Okay, misconceptions, as I said, one of the, I wouldn't call it a misconception, it's more of a problem, which is the disproportionate share of risk that the ESCO is expected to handle. That is one of the common challenges that we face when we are trying to structure a project. Now, the second misconception is probably related to the cost. How is it going to be financed? Obviously, an ESCO is going to be more expensive than if you do it yourself. Obviously, it is not a cost plus. There is a service that is being provided. In some cases, it is a custom and tailored service. In some cases, we are able to tailor it, as Ramanan said. So depending upon that, it is obviously going to cost you a little bit more when you have an ESCO, because the EBITDA is going to be really different, and that needs to be understood really. And the third one, misconception, of course, is with regard to the, how do I put this? I need to think about this. It is with respect to things are much easier with digitalization. In India, we have a problem because, especially with MSME and even in very large industries, because we are not able to do a very robust production forecast. Unless we do a robust production forecast, we are not able to do an energy forecast. And then within that energy, we are working in certain areas. So, complicating the process for small investments, and how do you simplify it so that it is understood, and understood that the ESCO is not a competition for you, and ESCO is an enabler. That is one of the third biggest challenges that we typically face. And your second question was challenges in structuring. So I guess I've answered that. Thank you.
So, Dr. Singh, SIDBI, along with World Bank, successfully executed the partial risk sharing facility. The main beneficiaries of this facility were ESCOs or industries who went into such projects. So, if you can share, what are the learnings from this journey, and how SIDBI as an organization and SIDBI, which is working towards nation building, also how do you plan to share these learnings with other institutions who are now willing to explore similar facilities?
So that is what, as I mentioned earlier also, the learnings for us has been that you have to remove that misconception of innovation or technology being a fearful word for the banker. And so with risk sharing facility, we could test this model right way, where we told that, okay, we are looking at this aspect and we will stand with you on the technical front side. So that has eased the thinking in a good way. And lending has started happening, and that is what it reflects, that we could shift to from ESCOs to EV or to municipal solid waste. Even we are thinking about risk sharing facility for RESCOs also. So the idea is that it has gone right, and more so, I can share with you that over the period, only one case in 9 years has gone bad in terms of NPA. So that has also created a lot of comfort among not only SIDBI but all other lending partners who have availed risk sharing facility. And in fact, on a lighter note, I would share with you that while we are reaching the limits of this risk sharing facility, because we have been able to cover maximum, some of our lending partners told that, okay, even if the guarantee is not available, please do the technical vetting, right? So that way, that brings that it could create some comfort among lenders, and that is very important. This has worked in SIDBI also, enhancing his green portfolio more than 10 times in last few years. It is all because of this comfort or confidence which has come to us. And that is how it has brought us to set up whether gift or SPICE scheme, or setting up a financing mitigation and adaptation project of $1 billion, which we are on way to work out. GCF bought this idea that this is doable, and so they have supported us with the $200 million. So I look at it as these are the positives which has come out of our implementation of risk sharing facility right way, as also it is establishing that this service side aspect is so crucial. For example, for powering Har Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana, the role of RESCO is so important, and role of risk sharing facility giving that sort of backup to a lender is much more important. So I look at it from market making point of view. It has been a good experience.
Thank you. Mr. Ramanan, a question for you. How important is the timing to pitch for ESCO projects? In your experience, do you see that when ESCO projects are planned at a time when a facility is due for upgrade, the probability of conversion increases, or regardless of such instances, you have been able to successfully make inroads?
There's actually never a better time to improve. You can improve any time. It's not an issue. But generally, by the nature of the contract, it works well with an established line, an established facility, where things have been established long ago based on the standards and norms which were prevalent at that point in time, which are anyway amenable for a lot of improvement. So that makes an easy financial case for that to be improved. Every time we can't be discarding the entire line, so you will basically understand what are the key components which will help it to become more efficient. While we derive everything in terms of financial metrics for the ease of funding as well as risk analysis, the key point of ESCO is to reduce the specific energy consumption in that particular process. So by its nature, it helps it to be applied on the older plants one, and in that order. Of course, there is never a correct time to start. I mean, all time is good time.
So we'll move into the next round of rapid fire, and this time maybe we'll start from you, Arjun. The question is, can India's ESCO market thrive irrespective of policy and government support? Quick response.
I don't think India's ESCO market has ever depended on or will benefit from government intervention. It has to be a private sector driven, business to business thing. That's how we have always done it, that's how we'll always do it, and that's the only thing that works actually.
Good.
Yeah, I kind of completely agree with him, but the push really that is required is the ecosystem where contracts can be enforced.
Yeah, I think to trigger it right way, even the green financing overall, I would say, it has to be a blending of blended finance product, risk sharing facility, viability gap funding. This mix should go on, like we are working on interest subvention and subsidy part. So if this mix goes on, I think this is going to do better.
So I'd make it a little lighter. It's an old saying which goes, when the student is ready, teacher appears. When the student is absolutely ready, teacher disappears. So the market is ready. So there will be a policy push. And the policy push will entail the market to mature and the policy push will go off. Both is going to happen. And it's right time for the policy to give a small fillip. In the sense that we use a lot of words in this title itself. ESCO, energy saving, decarbonization. Is there a direct linkage between energy saved and decarbonization, carbon saved? Today, answer is no. Perhaps policy may help to declutter this, that if you save so much, it helps in so much, it's easy for people to understand. That's why I said,
Right.
it will happen now.
So, but we'll continue for the next, rapid fire question. Let's say if a policymaker walks into the room right now and saying we are interested to develop a national level scheme on ESCOs, and I'm looking for crowdsourcing of ideas, and if you were to give one idea each, which will go into that designing of scheme, what will be your suggestion?
Well, this thing would be ki we tend to mentally equate energy with electricity. So my request would be, energy is just not electricity. Bulk of the energy you either add in terms of heat or remove in terms of heat in any process, even in air conditioning and commercial building. But when you talk about energy, you involuntarily tend to associate with electricity, and by electricity you involuntarily tend to associate with renewable, wind, solar, so on and so forth, and then the policies are framed. So my request would be that zara just have a different view of it also, and see the lot of intermediate forms of energy which is used in any industry or even in home, and in what form it can be enhanced. Make policies around that. And there are some interesting products that are happening in the market also, by which maybe you may not be required to use steam everywhere. There's possibilities there. So zara, we should start focusing on that. That would be my request, that energy is not always equal to electricity, is not always equal to solar.
Dr. Singh?
I will go for a sharing facility to trigger the market, right?
I would actually expand on what Ramanan said, that energy, when it is used, it is in the context of something else, be it a building, be it a production process or something else. So when a policy is made, it has to be made for the larger purpose for which the energy is used, not narrowly like for the purpose of energy efficiency. No one does energy efficiency for the sake of energy efficiency. They do it either for cost reduction or for cutting down production, improving their profitability or their margins. So that is why people really invest in energy efficiency, not really for energy saving. So policymakers really have to understand that and factor that in design of policy.
Yeah, I'd like to offer an idea which is both impactful as well as possible, like within the realm of possibility for the government to actually do something, because it achieves a bunch of objectives together, which is electrification of low-grade heat. We are decarbonizing electricity, so moving more low-grade heat like hot water, low-pressure steam to electricity. Okay, it's going to anyways decarbonize. Liquid fuels and solid fuels are really high carbon intensive. Second, it will improve utility financial health, because now utilities can sell more electricity. And especially in commercial and industrial sector where it's profitable to sell more electricity, they can sell more to their existing clients at high rates. So electrification of low grade heat, if there's program around that, I think that will be super powerful. It is something that will capture the fancy of policymakers, so likely to be implemented. It will help utilities, and of course, it will decarbonize.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for the wonderful insights and also being very candid in sharing your perspectives. So we'll open it now for the audience. We have roughly 5 minutes, so we can take max 3 questions. If there are any questions that have come up through the Mentimeter yeah, people would like to ask now. Yes, Producer. Yeah.
Hi, very interesting session. You know, I was just taken up by what you, Mr. Singh, said. And you said that audits are no longer energy audits, but energy health checkups, which I think is a very interesting observation. I was wondering, in the context of having these name changes, whether it's time that ESCO's now expanded their definition beyond energy and included water and made it WESCOs, water energy service companies, because water management in many ways is as important, if not more important, than energy management. So is there any thought going on in that area?
I can offer a response to that. So when we do cooling, right, water is really important. Water-based cooling is the most efficient, but so we have started taking contracts where we also take the STP management and reuse the entire water in the cooling system. So we are responsible to run the STP to a point where the water is clean enough to be used in cooling towers and there's no fresh water usage for cooling at all. So we are already delivering that, doing that, and that offers real benefits.
That's wonderful, Arjun. You should call yourself a WESCO, not an ESCO.
I've stopped using the word ESCO anyways.
Any question from the audience? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
No,
we have
I'm
a
not.
response from Dr. Singh.
We are like. It's a good idea. We shifted from ESCO to WESCO. Maybe WESCO is also very important. So WESCO is equally important because as a DFI I mentioned, we always try to work on an issue which is emerging or emanating as a demand, and maybe we try to work on it. And if you are saying today, maybe it can happen that way. It is an important topic, and on adaptation side, we are going to work on this side also. But yes, we'll keep that in mind.
Just a follow on, the moment you bring in water, then you embrace another sector altogether, and that's the agricultural sector. Yeah. That's the interesting point.
Yeah.
Any question? Yeah.
Sir, you mentioned the use of artificial intelligence in waste heat recovery. And so I just wanted to understand, could you please expand on what the scope of artificial intelligence and large language models will be in waste heat recovery and overall energy efficiency in manufacturing organizations?
Mr. Ramanan? Yeah.
See, an exposition of artificial intelligence and large language models in waste heat recovery would be slightly out of the purview of this particular discussion. Suffice to say that the point I was trying to make was that it is possible with current digital infrastructure to measure the parameters of any system which is including waste heat recovery systems. For that, you must have a basic knowledge about what needs to be measured and what do you do out of this very large set of data. Now, any large set of LLMs and MIs essentially are basically, it starts with the simple statistical tools, mean, standard deviation, etc., etc. Then you sort of corroborate it with respect to the performance over a set of parameters, which will include but not limited to atmospheric conditions. You can even include the name of the operator who operates the plant. with the efficiency of the plant also. You define the parameters of it. When I made that point in the context that a decade ago this was not available. So when this becomes available for a trained eyes, there's a lot of inference which could be derived out of the data, right? And either the operating point of the waste heat recovery device or the design or the process can be changed or modified with or without additional investments to derive the maximum efficiency of that particular set of inputs. That's what I was to mention. But of course, you have included a lot of LLMs and things like that. And maybe I would request AWE to organize a separate session on application of large language models and MIs on industrial data. It's a separate subject.
Maybe time for one last question, if anyone has.
The question again is to Arjun. I think the response to Pramod's question on what the lessons that somebody who's building an ESCO business today could take. So I want to further implore and ask what else could have been termed as potential misreadings of the market in an ESCO business wearing a hat of somebody who built an ESCO business for last 10 years. You already spoke of not creating another segment, but capitalizing on existing categories. So what else can you think of?
I think two things. First, like, who are you selling to? So I think a lot of people try to think that selling to chief engineers and general managers works. It does not work. Okay, they waste a lot of your time. They'll basically suck all your expertise and waste your time and promise you the moon and not give you anything. Unfortunately, this is our market. So I actually, like young guy, and I was like, these guys are really interested, and they actually care about my subject matter knowledge and expertise, and they're calling me back again and again. I do 10 visits, 5 visits to a particular site, and just waste time. So, one lesson is in India, bottom-up sales don't work. Top-down sales are the only way to drive sales if you are a growing organization or a small organization. Once you're a large organization and then brand and other things work, but small organizations, you cannot sell bottom-up. It has to be top-down. So that is one. Another one is, I think maybe a little bit more investment in brand upfront just to overcome these barriers. Everybody thinks, like Sir was saying, like maintenance departments. So in the beginning, I used to go to, approach customers who are branded and, large companies, and they would laugh me out of the room. They would say, my engineering department is bigger than your company. So what can you do better than me? Right? And I've never heard of your company. What is this? What is it? So as an engineer, I used to think technical superiority or understanding with the ability to take risk is enough. But it's not. If people have not heard about you, it doesn't really matter how good you are. So, but if people have heard about you, and they're like, I've heard this name before, the other person was also talking about it, and blah, blah, blah. Again, 50% of your work is done. So I would say this is what Americans do really well, even Europeans do really well, but I think, and even in other segments and sectors, they do really well, but somewhere ours is a very engineering focused effort, and engineers don't really market a brand really well. So I would say invest even more in brand, right? Don't be afraid of making noise. You don't have to become a big company to talk like a big company, right? So invest more in brand and top-down sales. Those are some other learnings to share.
Thank you everyone. Sorry, we have run out of time, so I'll just wrap up. When I started the session, my notion was that ESCO is a great unfulfilled dream, 10 lakh crore investment potential versus maybe 7,000 crore maximum annual market today. I don't know, with ESL not into the picture, maybe it's even lower. But listening to all of these speakers, it gives me hope that, okay, just like life finds out a way, the industry will also find a way to ESCO-late, and as Dr. Singh said, ESCO-life. So thank you once again for your time and participation.
Yeah, please come forward for a group photo. To felicitate our panel this time, we'd like to call a younger member of the IEEE family. The discussions here will be translated and carried forward by the next generation of energy efficiency professionals. So Kashish, please join us on stage.